However, their invasion of your privacy wasn't only unsettling. It was planned methodically. In order to humiliate you, make you seem unstable, and cast doubt on your spiritual practices in public, they were gathering this film. They believed they could use your humanity as a weapon against your spiritual authority if they could just catch you when you were weak. They intended to release manipulated video that would portray your genuine spiritual expression as mental illness. Rather, their hacking efforts activated security measures they were unaware of. Their own machines were ultimately infected by their spyware. They ended up recording their own chats about their planned spiritual assaults while attempting to spy on you using cameras and microphones. By using their own surveillance equipment against them, the universe produced a thorough record of their plot that would ultimately serve as proof of their demise. This instance of cosmic justice is almost dramatic in its perfection. They were filming themselves as they planned your spiritual torment, while they were filming you at your most sacred moments, believing they were obtaining material for your devastation. Every discussion regarding when to launch an assault, which practitioners to employ, and how to pay for such work were all recorded by the same technology they believed they were using against you. Here's what's going to happen, however. Not all of this digital material is only waiting to be found in some cosmic storage facility. It will be disclosed at the precise time that will harm their reputations the most and your objective the least. Forces that are more knowledgeable about social media algorithms and spiritual law than any human marketing specialist have planned the time of this exposure. These spiritual amateurs took the fateful choice to become a full-fledged cult when their traditional harassing techniques failed. We're discussing employing practitioners, contracting hex work, and paying for complex curse rituals that are intended to sap your vitality, impair your judgment, and undermine your spiritual achievement. Here, the degree of malice is astounding. They weren't satisfied with just attempting to disrupt your possibilities or delivering you unfavorable messages. They intended to assault the source of your strength, interfere with your ability to receive divine direction, cause you to doubt your spiritual abilities, and eventually compel you to give up on the mission that puts everything they stand for in jeopardy. Here, however, their utter disregard for spiritual rule proves to be their downfall. Commissioned spell work doesn't just bounce off you when you're working under the kind of divine protection that has been ingrained in your spiritual DNA since before birth. It generates a reaction that traces the energy path back to all those who contributed to its development and implementation. The restored energy targets every practitioner they paid. Their own lives are cursed by every rite they support. Each hex they commission turns as a spiritual boomerang poised to topple all they have constructed. They didn't recruit arbitrary spiritual workers as practitioners. They belong to a group of individuals who turn spiritual energy into a weapon for customers who are too scared to perform the grunt work themselves. As long as they are paid, these spiritual mercenaries don't give a damn about the moral ramifications of their actions. However, the spiritual rules governing these transactions are entirely altered when you target someone who is protected by God. The full power of what occurs when their spell work backfires is going to hit the same practitioners they hire to harm you. As word gets out about what happens when you employ them to target the incorrect individual, some of them will lose business. As the energy they send forth is magnified beyond anything they have ever experienced, others will have to confront their own spiritual reckonings. However, this is the actual narrative surprise that will occur. Some of these practitioners will start talking because they're so troubled by what they have encountered. In order to target you, they will begin disclosing information about who hired them, what they were requested to accomplish, and how much they were paid. Their public exposure is going to come from the same network they believe they could conceal themselves behind. For individuals who have endured hardships and come out on the other side with knowledge that others cannot see, that public exposure, the Obsidian Inner Order, is a haven. We are aware that certain events fall beyond the realm of what most people believe is appropriate or feasible to talk about. We get together live on Zoom once a week. Without passing judgment, real people with genuine faces tell real tales. The experiences you've held in silence have room here. The trends you've seen that others ignore. the things you've learned intuitively along the way. We comprehend, not just listen. When you're having trouble understanding what has happened to you, you may go back to our recorded conversations and remind yourself that your perspective is legitimate when you feel gaslighted by a society that doesn't accept your truth. Become a member of the Obsidian Inner Order, where your voice is heard and your reality respected. In the description, there is a link. The spiritual mechanics get very intriguing at this point. They commissioned spell work that was more than simply ordinary bad luck energy. They carefully addressed your spiritual habits, drive, and resolve. They were attempting to detach you from your divine direction, make you spiritually lethargic, and disperse your energy. The inner work that keeps your energy high and your link to heavenly protection strong was something they wanted you to quit doing. The intention was to weaken your spiritual immune system, leaving you open to more direct assaults. Their spell work had the exact opposite effect, which is cosmic irony. It triggered spiritual defenses you were unaware you had, rather than causing you to become spiritually complacent. It enhanced your bond with protecting forces beyond anything you had ever experienced, rather than impairing your ability to receive heavenly direction. It proved without a shadow of a doubt that you are precisely where you should be, doing exactly what threatens them most, rather than making you doubt your spiritual path. The consequences of commissioned spell work coming into contact with divine protection are now being dealt with by these paid practitioners. Since their hexes returned, some of them have been dealing with physical ailments, anxiety, sleeplessness, and other unexplained health problems. Others are dealing with spiritual repercussions, blocked intuition, broken relationships with their guides, and the incapacity to provide any client with good energy work. The most sensitive of them are experiencing prophetic visions that reveal the precise forces they attempted to oppose when they agreed to pay to attack you. However, this is the section that is causing a significant upheaval in the underground spiritual services sector. The consequences of accepting contracts to hex someone while under this degree of supernatural protection are becoming well known. Practitioners are beginning to turn down positions that target certain categories of spiritual instructors. Some are putting screening procedures in place to prevent unintentionally targeting selected individuals. Selected ones. Energy vampires from all three dimensions are rushing to determine what cosmic power they have just awoken after something in the spiritual world broke so violently. Right now, there are many who have made the grave error of believing they can control your energy, undermine your rise, and escape unharmed. And they are learning that it is not just unwise, but also spiritual death to tamper with a chosen one. This is the curveball that makes them reevaluate all of their preconceived notions about power. You did more than only protect yourself from their assaults. A vast network of spiritual predators who believed they were untouchable were exposed by you. The cosmos has been waiting for the grand revelation to be triggered by someone with your degree of divine power. And their last-ditch efforts to thwart your purpose ended up being the exact mechanism that sends you into your final destiny while also destroying everything they had secretly constructed. They woke up a lion with celestial wings and holy fire in its breath, even though they believed they were hunting a lamb. Guess who became the prey now that the search is done? Let me give you a full picture of how this cosmic chess game played out before we get into the delectable specifics of their spiritual destruction. Because seeing the whole extent of what has transpired will make it clear to you why you are not just protected, but armed. Let's begin by discussing the basis for this campaign of spiritual warfare. Because the mayhem that has been occurring around you has not been random. Someone who shared your ancestry, your early years, and your most vulnerable moments betrayed you on purpose. Here, we're discussing sibling energy. Someone who shared a home as a child. Someone who saw the growth of your spiritual abilities. Someone who, despite struggling to connect with anything beyond their own ego, saw you get heavenly downloads and direction. This family member has been following your rise with a long-simmering combination of resentment and envy. They recall how you both seemed to have an innate ability to contact spiritual worlds when you were kids, something they were never able to do. They recall the times you made predictions that turn out to be accurate, how you seem to know things that you couldn't possibly know, how it was clear that you carried something unique since animals and young children were attracted to your energy in certain ways. It gets dark here, however. They were carefully cultivating animosity while you were cultivating your talents with good intentions. They weren't only envious of your skills. They were researching them, identifying your tendencies, mapping your weaknesses, and obtaining information that they would use against you in the future. You offered your spiritual thoughts at every family meal, every vulnerable occasion in which you shared your troubles or anxieties. They were storing all of that information for later use each time you trusted them with the personal specifics of your spiritual journey. There is more to the betrayal than just sibling rivalry. For years, this individual has been leading a double life, appearing to the outside world as someone who encourages your achievement while covertly organizing actions to destroy what you're establishing. Other family members, childhood pals, and individuals from your past who never moved beyond the fact that you surpassed the boundaries they set for themselves have all been the spider at the center of a web. However, the psychological manipulation that has been going on in tandem with the spiritual assaults is what makes this treachery more nefarious. For years, they have been deceiving you, leading you to doubt your own spiritual experiences, your intuition, and your heavenly downloads. They would react with just enough suspicion to sow doubts every time you revealed anything meaningful that sprang from your connection to higher worlds. They would constantly bombard you with pragmatic worries meant to keep you playing small whenever you felt compelled to make a significant life change that matched your spiritual development. This conduct is typical of energy vampires. Because your whole spiritual expression made their own spiritual poverty too evident to ignore, they required you to remain spiritually reduced. They couldn't compete with you. They thus spent years attempting to bring you down to their level. The clinging energy that has been impeding your advancement. That was them putting up energetic cables that were intended to drain your spiritual energy while also preventing you from interacting with others who may really help you with your quest. However, this is what their complex plans failed to account for. In the spiritual sphere, family ties are reciprocal. You allowed heavenly forces to track down the origin of every strike, thanks to the same bloodline that allowed them to inflict wounds. Targeting you would be like grasping a live wire when you are as protected as you are. Whoever attempted to hurt you is the direct recipient of the electrical current. Additionally, the shock is more damaging the closer the link. We are now approaching the stage when their amateur hour operation begins to expose the true sloppiness and conceit of these individuals. They chose to take their harassment campaign online because they were dissatisfied with conventional spiritual warfare. And here is where they committed the deadly error that would ultimately lead to the destruction of all they had constructed. Group chats, video calls for planning sessions, in-depth talks about which practitioners to employ for spell work, and debates about the best times to timing their psychic assault for maximum effect have all been used to coordinate their attacks. As if conducting some kind of spiritual espionage, they believed they were being cautious by utilizing encrypted messaging applications, creating fictitious identities, and hiding their digital footprints. However, heavenly protection extends beyond safeguarding your spiritual well-being. It permeates every aspect of your life, including online life. They believed they were unseen while they planned and plotted, but powers they were unaware were observing were recording all they did. Evidence of their private chats was being retained. Their meticulous preparations were being recorded for potential publicity. Like a GPS system, their covert collaboration was being followed wherever they went. This is delightful irony. They began attempting to hack your accounts, access your personal information, and infiltrate your private communications in an attempt to obtain intelligence on you. They believed that if they could just gain access to your digital world, they would be able to find some information they could use against you, such as a vulnerability they could take advantage of or a secret they could weaponize. Instead, they found videos of you in your most private spiritual moments, including your meditation sessions, prayer times, healing and grieving moments, and spiritual activities at night. While you were processing trauma, seeking divine direction, and doing the precious inner work that maintains your vibration in line with your ultimate purpose, these utter spiritual degenerates were physically watching you via hacked webcams. Here, the degree of violation is astounding. And every time they entered your holy area, the cosmos has recorded it. Your finding of this message isn't either. The archons pay attention when souls of this kind come together. They are afraid of our combined might. They are aware of what occurs when people who are genuinely awakened come across one another. Participate in our weekly calls. Listen to their tales directly. Tell those who won't discount or doubt you about your personal path. Nowhere else on this level can we get the information that is shared via our private channels. In the description below, click the link right now. The remarkable individuals are waiting for you. Whether you belong with them is not the issue. How much longer are you going to wait to get your spot? As every foundation based on erroneous spiritual premises disintegrates and is replaced with structures that are in line with your true nature, your life is experiencing a full rebuilding of reality. Connections built on mutual respect grow tenfold stronger than relationships based on energy exploitation, which inevitably disintegrate. Opportunities that respect your actual value replace financial agreements that demanded your spiritual sacrifice. As cellular memory of spiritual oppression is erased and replaced with vitality patterns that are in line with your true self, even your body is rebuilt. Health problems associated with repressed spiritual abilities start to improve. When energy blocks materialize physically, they begin to dissolve. Your whole body changes to accommodate your increased spirituality. Your everyday routines are impacted by the remodeling because things that were necessary before now appear optional. At the same time, endeavors that always seemed unattainable became enticing. Priorities that support your spiritual development take precedence over social duties or outside demands, and your calendar automatically adjusts to accommodate them. Now, as your true destiny develops with incredible speed, every false prophecy that has ever been pronounced over your life is coming to pass in reverse. When you surpass all success metrics, the forecast that you would never amount to anything becomes a reality. The curse that you would have financial difficulties is transformed into a wealth that comes from several sources. The hex that would leave you spiritually helpless becomes into a force that affects people's lives via enormous networks. Beyond material achievement, this prophetic reversal also pertains to spiritual impact. Your metamorphosis serves as tangible evidence that the will of God is unaffected by erroneous forecasts. Similar curses cause other individuals to start doubting the spiritual leaders who impose restrictions on their life. Your discovery allows people to reject prophetic statements that go against their intuition. In cases when your integrity was questioned or your reputation was tarnished, the reversal procedure involves divine vindication. Unexpected avenues allow the truth to surface, repairing your reputation and revealing the intentions of those who sought to undermine it. Justice is shown by situations that provide total settlement with no effort on your behalf. Your experience serves as both an encouragement for others who are subjected to similar spiritual tyranny and a warning about the perils of delivering false predictions over selected ones. Your fate is now being shaped by the same words that were meant to restrict your possibilities. The point at which everything appeared to break beyond repair is when your path comes full circle. Now, the fractured basis shows itself as a problem cloaked in supernatural intervention. The cosmos was methodically tearing down false barriers to make room for real power to arise. In reality, every loss was a release from spiritual restraints that were keeping you from expressing yourself fully. The underlying purpose of the spectacle that must continue has been made clear. Authentically expressing your divine essence, regardless of the situation, is more important than performing for unworthy listeners. You've discovered that you don't need approval to shine your light or for your abilities to materialize. The only audience that counts is in the spiritual worlds, where your forefathers rejoice at each victory. Every spell destroyed, every curse reversed, every false prophecy shattered. Your narrative becomes a monument to the might of divine will over human limitations. It all demonstrates that spiritual truth ultimately triumphs over spiritual falsehood. You are evidence that chosen ones cannot be permanently silenced, no matter how complex the resistance becomes, as you stand in total spiritual freedom, surrounded by genuine love, functioning from limitless creative power, and expressing your ultimate essence without restriction. Your metamorphosis proclaims to all dimensions that, in spite of all efforts at spiritual intervention, divine purpose will always find a way to materialize. The base has been restored. The show goes on. Every family member with inherited limits now gets access to opportunities that were previously unattainable due to supernatural barriers. Your whole family's spiritual potential was unleashed by your breakthrough. You've shown that sometimes the best performances result from having the spiritual strength to turn away crowds who didn't deserve to see your talents in the first place. But the show must go on. Standing in your truth, under the protection of God, prosperous, artistically unrestrained, and totally unburdened by any curse that has ever been cast over your future. You are evidence that heavenly will always triumphs over human magic. All the spells have been broken. All the curses have been undone. All the bogus prophecies have been broken. And at last, you are totally and forever free. The way reality reacts to your presence has undergone what can only be characterized as a dimensional shift as a result of your spiritual awakening. It seems like the laws of physics are marginally on your side. Coincidences now line up with uncanny accuracy. The timing of opportunities is so ideal that it beggars rational explanation. This is the result of releasing oneself from spiritual restraints and starting to act in accordance with divine favor. Those witnessing your metamorphosis find it difficult to understand how someone can undergo such a drastic shift in such a short period of time. Because you're now functioning from your own spiritual frequency without the intervention of supernatural forces. What seems amazing to other onlookers seems totally normal to you. Reality was always meant to react to your presence in this manner. These impacts are impossible for your shadow rivals to duplicate. The dimensional change you have experienced calls for true spiritual emancipation, not performance or deception, regardless of how frantically manipulative methods or spiritual practices are used. Their efforts to mimic comparable energies only serve to emphasize how different real spiritual strength is from false spiritual theater. Establishing total energy sovereignty is one of the most significant parts of your transition. Now, your own energy field functions as a separate spiritual country with its own legal system, boundaries, and defenses. Without your express consent, no one is allowed to enter your spiritual space. No one may deplete your spiritual reserves without facing repercussions right away. This sovereignty encompasses active reality production in addition to personal defense. The removal of spiritual static from your mental frequency increases the power of your ideas to materialize, because psychic interference no longer affects your feeling centers. Your emotions produce more powerful energetic reactions. Because all barriers have been removed from the spiritual channel between desire and reality, your wishes will materialize more quickly. You've set up energetic boundaries that automatically filter incoming influences according to how well they correspond with your greatest good. While negative energy faces insurmountable obstacles, positive energy effortlessly enters your experience. Your spiritual immune system does all the protective work for you, so you don't have to actively protect yourself against energy vampires. Every aspect of your life is impacted by your newly discovered sovereignty. Since individuals can only connect with you from sincere places inside themselves, relationships become more real. Your energy only connects with endeavors that fulfill your spiritual mission, so business prospects match more properly. Because outside spiritual disturbance no longer taints your artistic expression, creative tasks go more effortlessly. The karmic acceleration chamber, as spiritual masters refer to it, has been ignited by your spiritual ascension, a condition in which both good and bad deeds return to their origins with unnatural speed and force. Every act of kindness you give has an exponential multiplier before coming back to you. Every sincere attempt you make to achieve your objectives is amplified by the cosmos. At the same time, all the bad things that happen to you go back to their origin with deadly speed. Those who condemned your achievement face direct consequences in their own life. People who propagate false predictions about your limits see how those same constraints materialize in their own situations. People who try to obstruct your wealth discover that their own income flow is inexplicably restricted. This acceleration impacts both prior complaints and present actions. Compound interest is being applied to spiritual bills that have been accruing for a long time. As the karmic acceleration brings all accounts current, those who have wronged you in past stages of your life are facing delayed repercussions. Because of your heightened spiritual condition, which creates compassion even for people who have harmed you, you observe this karmic balance with wonder rather than enjoyment. A feeling of spiritual detachment that stops their karma from influencing your energy field is created when you realize that their pain is due to their own decisions rather than your retaliation. Everyone working from genuine spiritual centers is responding positively and automatically because your own frequency has increased to such high levels. Your vibe naturally attracts children. Animals try to get your attention. It seems that when you are around, plants thrive. Even inanimate items cooperate better when you touch them. It is hard to sustain deceit in your presence due to this frequency increase. Around you, people are forced to speak honestly because your energy field dispels the spiritual underpinnings of deception and manipulation. Secret motives come to light. Covert motives are revealed. Honest conversation becomes natural when genuine motives emerge. Additionally, your higher frequency speeds up the spiritual development of everyone who is really involved in your trip. Family members start to doubt limiting assumptions that appeared unassailable at first. Friends begin to pursue goals that were unattainable before they saw how you changed. Colleagues learn to have the guts to quit circumstances that no longer suit their best interests. Your current frequency acts as a spiritual tuning fork, assisting others in identifying their own true vibration. Your presence serves as a reminder of what may be achieved when real power is accepted and artificial constraints are lifted. This causes enlightenment to spread far beyond your own social group. Let me now take a minute to introduce you to some people who shouldn't be here. A demonic coven's escapee was a skilled occultist. An ex-Black Ops drone pilot who used his thoughts to fly swarms. A multi-millionaire CFO with psychic abilities who foresaw changes in the market before they occurred. What is the connection between these extraordinary people? On our secret Discord server, they share their prohibited knowledge, and you may find them all in the Obsidian Inner Order. Aeon after aeon, my chosen soul has drank deeply from the well of knowledge. These remarkable people were my partners in the Obsidian Inner Order during this existence. The call was familiar to them. They moved onward. They made connections with others who were aware of their special talents and challenges. What is preventing you from experiencing the same manifestation? It wasn't a coincidence that led them to this point. Emotional defense against deception and psychological assault. Financial defense that thwarts efforts to undermine your wealth. Creative protection that keeps your concepts and ideas safe from infringement. A system of spiritual surveillance has been put in place by your ancestors to detect dangers before they materialize. Every curse that is directed at you is intercepted and relayed back to the sender. Any hex that is thrown at you is magnified and sent back to its origin. Any spiritual assault directed against you turns into a spiritual assault on the one who began it. Every time someone tries to obstruct your progress supernaturally, the protocol's built-in retaliatory mechanisms kick in. The spiritual protection system works without your conscious knowledge, so you don't have to defend yourself. While your ancestral protection takes care of all defensive actions, your duty is to concentrate on developing and constructing. Those who have bad intentions against you will suffer unexplainable bad luck anytime those intentions became more intense. Their own energy field gets stuck with their own bad energy, causing a feedback cycle that intensifies their misery while having no effect on you. Spiritual justice functions in this way. When it comes to divine protection, the financial transition you're going through is the opening of a gate to plenty that was for too long supernaturally closed off to you. You have access to all the resources that were spiritually barred, every chance that was magically diverted from your course. All of the blessings that were occultly taken away from you before they could materialize are now coming your way in concentrated form. This goes beyond money. It is an energy retribution for each spell that was used to prevent your prosperity. Spiritual accounts that have been unresolved for longer than you think are being settled by the cosmos. Every $1 stands for a prayer that was miraculously answered. Every chance represents a magically locked door. Every resource that appears in your world is evidence that justice is always served by God. You may see how much artificial resistance was being created against your natural prosperity by the ease with which wealth now pours into your reality. Money wasn't a problem for you. People were supernaturally interfering with your wealth flow since they knew that your achievement would make them feel less superior. Your shadow rivals are becoming alarmed as they see your financial success, as it proves that their methods of preventing their wealth have failed miserably. They are now methodically destroying their own financial security using the same spiritual energies that they use to undermine your achievement. While you attain spiritual riches, others are going through spiritual bankruptcy. The revival of spiritual abilities that were being stifled by divine intervention is symbolized by your creative renaissance. People who understood that your creative power was directly tied to your ability to shape reality were methodically blocking every artistic vision that remained frustratingly out of reach, every brilliant idea that seemed to vanish, and every abandoned project that never felt right. Reviving many creative pursuits at once is hardly a sign of natural productivity. The power that was being artificially restrained is being restored in a magical way. Now that forces beyond human resistance have destroyed the spiritual barriers preventing your inspiration, your creativity pours freely. You now have spiritual power in your creative work that automatically draws good possibilities and drives away bad influences. Protective energy fields surround every work you produce, every project you start, and every artistic idea you bring to life. These fields guard against spiritual theft and guarantee that your creative legacy endures. The reverse is happening to those who are draining your creative energy on a spiritual level. As the stolen inspiration finds its due place, their own creative wells are irreversibly drying up. The foundation of their seemingly easy creative achievements was supernatural thievery, which has now been uncovered and undone. You're getting close to the culmination of the biggest spiritual shift of your life, and the show must go on. This goes beyond personal development. It is a total spiritual remodeling of your life. Every magic is undone, every curse is lifted, and every false prophecy is destroyed. The result of all of this is that you become fully free from supernatural constraints. Those who tried to keep you spiritually restrained are watching your conclusion with a combination of amazement and sheer fear. They experience a degree of worry that goes beyond typical human uneasiness when they realize that every spiritual assault on you has not only failed, but has also multiplied back against them. They are learning that to declare war on someone who is defended by ancestral forces is to declare war on forces they cannot understand or subdue. Now you see, it wasn't devastation that caused the foundation to break. It was remodeling. The cosmos was making room to build something indestructible. Every relationship that had to end, every mess that needed to be cleaned up, and every restriction that needed to be broken was all required preparation for the spiritual masterpiece that is now your life. Think back to the time when everything seemed to go wrong. The sound of every curse, spell, and false prophecy projected over your life, ultimately crumbling beneath the weight of divine intervention, was the breaking point that seemed like failure, but was truly that moment. Before your actual power could completely emerge, the mess stood for all that needed to be spiritually cleaned out of your life. It was never the purpose of the performance that had to go on to entertain those who couldn't appreciate your skills. It was about taking back control of your life at last, while spiritual powers made sure that no one could ever drive you back into the background. Permanent reminders of what happens when individuals try to thwart divine will are provided by the people who destroyed their whole life in an effort to get at you. Your desire for seclusion has materialized as a whole spiritual haven. Spiritual predators cannot even detect your existence on supernatural radar because the boundaries around your energy field are so strong. In the meanwhile, you live in a condition of perpetual divine favor where resources, opportunities, and real relationships come your way with unnatural regularity. Your success's ancestral security works with constant watchfulness, making sure that spiritual assaults are thwarted before they have a chance to manifest in the minds of possible assailants. Your grandmother's soul keeps arranging events to ensure your safety and wealth, while making sure that anybody with bad intentions suffers instantaneous spiritual repercussions. You now understand that overcoming spiritual tyranny included more than simply mending yourself. Generational emancipation was what it was. You just destroyed every spell, curse, and false prophecy that has been cast over your life. Chosen one. Something broke in the spiritual world and reverberated in all the dimensions. When the bottle struck the floor, you felt it. When you have had enough of individuals who didn't merit your time or effort, your patience finally gave out. People are going to destroy their whole lives, yet the performance must continue, attempting to halt what has already been initiated by forces bigger than their plans. While everyone thought you were hiding, you've been developing your arsenal in hermit mode. You weren't hiding. You were getting ready for battle. Most people aren't even aware of the extent of the battle being waged against you. While you've been working to create your dreams, other people have been working to destroy them using techniques that don't exist in the actual world. However, someone who has divine favor cannot be cursed. Someone whose ancestors are actively trying to clear their way cannot be hexed. Your name was burnt on each candle. Every written petition aims to impede your advancement. Your light will be dimmed by every spiritual worker you recruit. All of it only served as fuel for the fire that would soon raise you beyond their wildest expectations. Their life force, money, connections, and sanity have all been being drained by the energy investment needed to sustain these assaults against you. It's likely that you have seen the quick aging of some of the individuals in your social circle, how persistently bad their luck has been, how their relationships with you cause everything to go wrong for them. It's no accident. That is the spiritual rebound effect of attempting to hurt someone who is shielded by powers that are beyond our comprehension. It turned out to be spiritual protection disguised as the seclusion you've been longing for. You were protecting your energy from parasites that were consuming your brightness. They can no longer reach your spiritual essence now that the shielding is complete. They've never experienced withdrawal like the one they're going to go through. A remarkable event just occurred in the financial sphere, and it signifies the first significant break in the spiritual barriers that have been erected around your wealth. Money is coming your way from sources that are almost supernatural in their origin and timing. It's not luck. This is the cosmos giving you back resources that were taken from you spiritually via manipulation of energy. Compound interest is reversing all of the spiritual theft that has occurred whenever someone has made you feel bad for wanting better, persuaded you that wanting abundance was selfish, or projected their poverty consciousness onto your dreams. The struggle age ended simply because the spiritual impediment to your abundant flow was eliminated, not because you put forth more effort. In contrast to the artificial opposition you have been battling, the resource streams you're going to enter seem natural. This is what life feels like when you're not up against unseen obstacles all the time. Your shadow rivals are aware of the specific spells they employ to keep you broke, so they will be horrified to see how your finances have changed. The fear in their eyes will be evident when the same spells begin to damage their own financial security while you experience unimaginable success. They just lost the one fight that counted, and they're about to discover that spiritual warfare is a two-way street. Beyond the tangible, there is spiritual meaning in the wealth that is coming your way. A year's worth of blocked blessings is represented by each dollar. Every chance represents a door that was magically closed off from you. Every resource that appears in your life is evidence that heavenly intent is always greater than human magic. In this cosmic struggle, your social change is the second significant spiritual triumph. People whose energy naturally aligns with your higher frequency are going to be drawn to you. These relationships aren't arbitrary. They're arranged spiritually to take the place of the energy vampires who were deliberately positioned to deplete your energy. All of your phony friends who were secretly against you. Everyone in your family who was purposefully obstructing your blessings. Every co-worker who was using spiritual tactics to undermine your accomplishment. Forces beyond their knowledge or control are progressively removing them all from your orbit. Spiritual predators are quickly repelled by the protective energy carried by the new group that is emerging around you. Your true admirers do more than just rejoice in your accomplishments. Through their good intentions, they actively aid in your spiritual protection. The universe uses components that are impervious to contamination and corruption to construct your social basis in this way. Your former social group has lost all spiritual control over you. Therefore, they are observing this change with growing despair. The cords of energy they employ to drain your energy. They keep track of your development via mental bonds. They set up spiritual monitoring systems to forecast your actions. Everything went black at once. Some may make unannounced visits in an effort to invade your new spiritual zone. However, genuine spiritual protection can spot fake energy right away. Anyone with lingering ties to your previous constraints will be automatically rejected by your new community. Only really aligned spirits may pass through the gates of the fortress being constructed around your new existence. The third spiritual triumph is symbolized by the surge of creative energy you are now feeling. The full recovery of abilities that have been repressed by divine means. Each endeavor that was shelved due to divine meddling. Divine CPR was given to every creative vision that was doomed to stay dormant, and every magnificent idea that was energetically prevented from becoming a reality. You weren't inherently inconsistent in your creative ability. They were being spiritually repressed by those who realized that your capacity to shape reality was closely linked to your creative force. These spiritual assailants were hindering you from reaching your maximum manifestation potential by keeping your creative energy dispersed and misdirected. It's no accident that many artistic endeavors are being revived at the same time. The universe is compensating for lost time by eliminating all man-made obstacles to your innate creative flow. The spiritual barrier preventing you from being inspired just fell under the force of divine intervention, allowing ideas to flow through you like water. The converse is true for your shadow competitors. As the stolen inspiration they have been exploiting is restored to its rightful owner, their own creative wells are drying up. The creative powers that appear to come so easily to them were really stolen spiritually from your energy field. Now that the relationship is broken, it is clear that they are creatively bankrupt. If this message resonates with you, share this video with those you feel should hear it.